Hi everyone, and welcome back to the second and last part of my color and chat, Catching the Stars. So last time I just have to find the page. Last time we based everything with the Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils, and then I colored on top again with these Albrecht Dürer pencils. You could also use polychromos pencils. And otherwise, I have tried to keep the color palette somewhat limited, and all of the colors are down in the description box. So you can follow along no matter what brand of coloring pencils you want to use. This part is where we color the rabbit and the girl and of course the night sky, and do some wonderful things to the page to make it a little bit more shiny in some parts of the page. So you will need your coloring pencils. You will also need a black Posca pen, probably also a white gel pen, probably also some sort of metallic marker or glitter gel pen or whatever you want to use for the stars here in these nets that they have catched. And well, let's see what other things we want to do to this wonderful page. My name is Katja, I'm CatColouring, and a warm welcome back to my channel and this video with a subscriber voted coloring page. This is Catching the Stars from Tales from the Forest Kingdom by Hanna Karlzon. Enjoy. Okay, so I have had some time to think about it, and I actually think that I will wait with the sky a little bit and then start with the rabbit and the girl. So again, we have the light coming up from the moon and sort of shining down in a sort of diagonal angle down on the girl. So this means that the front of the girl is of course lit up and perhaps more in a shadow down here. And then the back side of the rabbit and the things, you know, with the ear and the arm that sort of stick out is also lit up, and then the most of his body here in front is actually in shadow because the moon light hits him from behind and the girl from the front. So we are going to try to do something with light and shadows here. So I am really excited about this page. Also because I found out that I don't have a skin tone color in my Albrecht Dürer watercolor set. So this is truly exciting what I'm going to do about that girl. Okay, but let's start with the rabbit. So for the rabbit, and the fur, I want to use Walnut Brown 177 and of course the black 199. So a very dark brown and a black coloring pencil. And the eyes, I will probably, because I always use black Posca and white Posca for the eyes, so I don't want to do anything about the eyes. But you can see again, as I said, that the ears is sort of protruding. So we do have some light here. So I am thinking about perhaps a lighter color for the edge of the ears. So I will just begin. And notice I have not based these, so I will just use these watercolor pencils from Albrecht Dürer dry on the girl and the rabbit. So I just leave a little part of it uncolored, and then of course I lay down this very dark brown color, the walnut brown. And then we must assume that some of the light also hits this ear. So we will also have to leave some of this ear uncolored for another lighter color. But not too light. Also, it must hit the top of his hand, or paw. It's not a hand, paw. So I will color some of the paw dark and leave room for some light, perhaps not entirely down here because there must be some sort of shadow down here. And I actually think that this is not part of it, so it has to be completely black in the background because it doesn't have hair. So it's of course the black background from the trees we can see. Okay, so I will just continue with this very, very dark color. So the entire face is not in the light. So this means that we will have to color this completely dark and add some shadow with the black color. It's always a bit daunting to make these pages with light and shadow, and I have seen many versions of this page, and quite a few of them, of course, are very dark in the colors because it is a night scene. But not all manage to get that light and shadow in place. So as I said, the eyes we will do later. And this paw way down here is of course in shadow, so it will have to be very dark. And I also think that his paws or feet down here are going to be very dark, because the light doesn't come all the way down to the forest floor. So very dark indeed down here. So that was the easy part. Now we are going to use the black to add some shadows. And this means that I will just not highlight, make it clear that we have some shadows down here. I will just push it a little bit up so you can see it. So it really has to be dark, so you can't see everything, but you can see that I have just marked his feet, so you can see his, well, I don't know, you can't call it toes when it's an animal, but you know what I mean. And in his face, it must be dark underneath this little hat. So we will of course just color it black here and here with the ear. So basically all of these lines and the little nose. Oh, I have forgotten here with the nose. So now we want a lighter color, and this is very interesting because I don't have a lot of brown colors in this Albrecht Dürer set. So I think I will go with the raw Umber 180 to just put a little bit of color to make it a little bit lighter. Also, so you can see it is truly a little bit lighter. And then I will go over it with the walnut brown to sort of make the transitions between the two colors a little more cohesive. So you can see now that we do have a little bit of some lighter brown color where this moonlight hits the rabbit. And then you can add, some details with the black if you want to, with the ears or the fur. And then you can just add a bit more of the walnut brown if you want an even darker color, and sort of blend the black shadows a little bit more out. So that was the fur of the rabbit. Now I want to use burnt sienna 283 just to color the wood on these nets. Onwards with the rabbit. Let's color his clothes, and here I think I want some more green colors for his clothes because he is a rabbit. He's probably out in the woods. So let's use the olive green yellowish 173 and the earth green yellowish 168. So again, a light and a darker color, but we do have to see his clothes. And so his arm right here is, of course, where you can see some of this moonlight. And I would like to say his shoulder. I think a little bit here, because his ear is protruding right here. So it's probably just a little bit with his shoulders that the moonlight hits, and then the ears sort of block from the moonlight here, so it's more of a shadow area. I also think that on his back, a little way down, we can see a little bit of some of this, perhaps also with the arm, and then not really, because again the moonlight hits him from behind. And we do have a lot of shadow. So that was it for the light color, not quite a lot. And then the olive green yellowish. And then you sort of just blend it in. And of course, we will probably also need a little bit of black to create some sort of shadow. And I don't think that we need to have too much of the light color there, because, you know, the trees are also sort of blocking the light from the moon. So don't think that it reaches as much down on him as it does to her. And I will just pause a little bit because I do want some of that black shadow. So I will take the black and I will just gently put some black behind his arm and very lightly put some black here where the ears shadow just a bit. So it's not entirely black, but we do get a darker color. And perhaps a little black underneath these pockets. And also where this jacket is assembled here. Perhaps underneath these buttons. Okay, so let's continue with the olive green yellowish. So it's still winter in Denmark, and we have gotten a lot of snow from that blizzard I told you about last week, and well, now we have another blizzard, or sort of blizzard, a lot of snow coming just a week after the last one. So originally they said that where I live it would be not 0 degrees, but perhaps a little bit more to the other side of 0. We have Celsius here in Denmark, so it could fall as rain or light snow, but right now it seems like the temperature is dropping, and then it would all fall as snow, and then we will get even more snow than we got last week. So again, that's really annoying. And we have also been told that the weather doesn't really change for the better before the, well, almost the end of the month, before the 24th. And I don't even know, because how can they predict the weather? I mean, 2 weeks ahead of time? They can't really, because it always changes. So I will just have to realize that this is just a really wintry winter with cold and snow, and spring is really, really far away. So I will have to be really patient. And now you can see as we add a bit more color, and we have added some more shadow. I think it's still a little bit too light over here. I think that we do have some shadow. I also think that perhaps we should add a very light layer of the black down here. And perhaps even to this side. So I will just add a little bit of black. So I hope you can see it just changes the color a little bit to make it a bit more dark. And then on top, yet again, with that olive green yellowish, to just, you know, sort of blend it out. So I will probably be coloring winter for some weeks yet before I begin coloring more spring-like pages. Or I could just begin coloring spring-like pages, because if I can't get spring in real life, perhaps I can just color myself in a better mood by coloring spring pages. And what color should we do for the buttons? That's a really good question. I think we will just color these buttons black. Again, there's no need to choose a light color, because it is more in a shadow, so you can't really see it. So let's just color these black. Then we have the pockets here. And of course we can choose another color. Should we? To spice it up a bit? I think we should. Oh, this is a good and hard decision also. I think that we will use the blue colors. Indigo, dark indigo 157. And perhaps only this color. Let's use the indigo for the outline of this pocket. And then we have the Indanthrene blue 247, and it is also a dark color. So let us just color this pattern with the Indanthrene blue. Oh, this looks good, and then use the indigo blue for the rest. Because as I keep repeating, shadow area, so it can't be really dark. But we do get another color down on the jacket, so that's okay. And that was the jacket. I think that we will just continue with those two blue colors for the trousers. So the dark indigo and the Indanthrene blue. And actually, I don't think I will use the Indanthrene blue, because look down here, it's so much in shadow. I'm not quite sure that, well, perhaps we could add a little bit of the Indanthrene blue here. Very, very little. And then the indigo blue. And now you may think, but didn't she use the indigo blue for this sky last time? Yes, she did. And has she made up her mind about another color for the night sky? Yes, she has. I have thought a lot about it, and you can see how dark this indigo blue is when it's laid down. So I think that perhaps this color is way too dark for the night sky. Because if you look up at the sky, we have the moon, and I have made room for some light around the moon. Usually the moon lights up the sky, and it's not as dark around the moon as the night sky normally would be with only stars. So I have decided on another color. Also, it's a bit seasonal, because in the winter the night sky is really, really dark and black during the night, even with the moon and the stars, but on other times of the year it's more like a really dark blue. So I have decided on another color. I was just wondering, so we have these sort of patches down here. So a really, really dark blue, and you can see if we just take a little of the indigo over, and just have to look for my brush. Then it's not really clear, but we can still, see a smudge of this light color. So I will just use the black for some more shadow underneath the jacket. Okay, I am going to be using some other colors for the girls, so why don't we take some of these colors over on the rabbit. So the red violet 194. This is a really dark color, so the patches could just be colored with this color. And also the patches up here. But then we have the light from the moon. I actually think I was a bit too eager here, so I will just have to find that deep cobalt green and repair. So as you can see, yes, I have certainly gotten me an electric eraser. And it is quite efficient, I just have to say. A little bit noisy, but efficient. Okay, so the middle purple pink, the lightest color. Let's get some of that color down. And then immediately for the red violet. So those were the patches on his hat, and let's color the hat also blue. So let's use the Indanthrene blue again, but this time we will have to have a lot of this Indanthrene blue because the moonlight is really coming down, and so we have a lot more of the blue here. Okay, so last time I did something I normally don't do a lot of in my color and chats. I had some parts of the video where I had music on and sped up the speed just a little bit. Some of the reasons were that my dog was sick that day and he had to throw up several times. So sometimes I simply didn't even have time to stop the recording. I just have to well, almost throw everything I had in my hands away and go out and clean up after him and make sure he got out in the garden, out in all of the snow, of course, so he could throw up there. I'm not sure I don't even think that when he is sick that he throws up in the garden. But we usually send him out there, so if he throws up a bit more, he can do it on the grass, which is actually covered in snow. So you can see here, I think I will just add a little bit more of that dark color and take with the middle purple pink again. So more color up here and more shadow the more we get down towards the forest floor. So now the rabbit is almost done. Perhaps we should do his eye. So here is his pupil, and then rabbits usually have dark eyes. I will just have to wait a little bit so I can just talk, because that black Posca, it really has to dry. I have had some accidents because I have been too impatient to wait for the black Posca to dry. So let it dry, because otherwise well, it's not a good result otherwise. I think I will use, should I use brown ochre? No. I think I will use burnt sienna for the rest of the eye, 283. Well, anyway, my dog really loves to eat snow, so I have a feeling that he had eaten too much snow. Sometimes then he gets a stomach ache and then he wants to throw up. And the other boxes we had, they were always very sensitive, because when they ate snow, they knew they didn't have to eat a lot, otherwise they would get sick, or sickish, if you can say that. But Tiger we have right now, he is, well, he's so fond of snow and he simply can't help himself. He can't control it. So every time we have him out, we have to really keep an eye out on him and try to prevent him from eating too much snow. So I think it's dry now, so I can color the rest of the eye brown, and then I will try to make the pupil a little bit more round. Okay, so now we need to let it completely dry and then add a little white highlight to the eye. Actually, 2 years ago, Tiger ate so much snow that he was really cold, so he just shivered and shivered and shivered, and I had to cover him with the blanket for several hours to get him warm again. That is how much he loves snow and always tries to eat it. Really annoying. Okay, let's turn to the girl before we get ahead of ourselves, and let's use the brown ochre 182 and the raw umber 180. This is the rabbit. I want the girl to be, well, she has a lot more of the moonlight coming down on her. Of course, there will also be some shadow from the rabbit, but I do also want the girl to sort of stand out a bit. So I will take this rather light brown ochre. So we must simply assume that this moonlight really hits a lot of her. A girl, she has a pointy ear. Is she a sort of an elf? I had never thought about it. Well, anyway, brown ochre, because a lot of her hair is going to be light. Perhaps also some of these strands of hair. And then, of course, as we get more in the shadow areas, it gets a bit darker. So this raw umber is not quite as dark as I thought it would be, but fear not. As I said, I really want a lot of her hair to be seen. And then the rest of it is going to be colored with a darker color. I actually think we will take the Van Dyke or Van Dyck brown or whatever it's called. So of course this is in shadow behind her ear. And also her hair down here. And now it's just time to, you know, I would almost say mix and match. So you can, with a somewhat lighter pressure, begin bringing the dark color up in her hair, both to make some details and to, of course, because we know it will have to be dark over here, right? Okay. So that's actually not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, that was her hair. Now for that skin of hers. And as I said, I really don't have a skin color. The only one I have remotely is the Coral 131 that I use, but I don't have that beige red that I have. So I could turn to the Polychroma set. I will just add a little bit. Very, very, very light with that coral, because we do have some shadow over here. But you can see it's a really, really light layer. And her hands, and to the back of her hand down here because of the light. I will press a little bit harder here because we do have some shadow. And then I will use the Ivory 103. So we do get some color on her face. And then I will have to use some sort of a Posca pen to draw up her eye. I actually think that, no, I actually, okay, so I was a little bit too eager with that ivory. But luckily we can just fix it, you know, by erasing a little bit. I'm not satisfied with the nose either, because I got some of that green color into the nose and it's not supposed to be there. So I will just have to use that deep cobalt green right there above her nose, and the black underneath her nose, and now you can clearly see her nose. So let's just add a little bit of that ivory, and I am way more satisfied now. Look at that. Okay, so that was the skin, and now for her colors, and I want to use these colors. So the middle purple pink 125 and magenta 133, so the light and the middle and the darkest color red violet 194, and of course also a black to add some more shadow. So let's see what we can do here. So of course a lot of light in front of her because she is just standing in the light of this wonderful moon. So let's give her shirt some of this middle purple pink. We also, so we have the light from that moon coming in. The rabbit must shadow a little bit. And how much, I'm not sure. I think I want her chest area to be also in this light. And then a little bit of her trousers just down here, and then nothing more. And then we have the middle color, and the middle color is this magenta. So let's use the middle color down here and not the darkest color, the red violet. And let's use this magenta. On a lot of the sleeve. And well, here we are, because we do have, of course, shadow behind this arm. So we will have to, and we also have some shadow on the back. I will just gently put some of that black here. And now for the red violet. So of course we have the dark color here. You can see it. I'm also pressing a bit hard. And of course we will have to have that dark color on her backside because it is just in shadow. No really light coming through here. Well, it sort of looks like she's not all turned front toward the rabbit, but sort of in a diagonal position, which makes it a little bit harder to color. So that was the back, and of course a lot more shadow, so we will have to lightly use that black to add a bit more shadow to her back. The black for the back. Okay. So again, the red violet. Just have to be absolutely sure that I'm using the right color. Okay, and of course also shadow down here. But the magenta here. So let's concentrate on this sleeve and blend the colors a bit more together. Must also be a little bit of shadow in front of her arm. So let me take that black and just a little bit. Okay, and then the middle purple pink. Give it an extra splash of color. And you can see now I am pressing hard to blend it, so it is a bit dusty. I think that I just need a little bit more black for the outlines down here. Okay. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. And then, of course, make sure that we can see the shadows. And make sure that you can see her silhouette. So another black layer on the background, just to make absolutely sure, you know, that we can see her, even though it's dark and all that, but just so that she, you know, stands out also in front of the background. Okay, so that was the first part of her, and now the last. And as you can see, I want to use the same colors for her trousers, so it's almost like she's wearing a pajamas. Okay, magenta. I will use that magenta and pull it down just a little bit, all the way to her boots. And then we will have no choice but to use the black yet again to create some shadow. You can also see a little bit of this down on her trousers. And then it's time for the red violet. I actually think I will just give this part of the trousers a very light layer of the black before the red violet, to make sure that this is really no shadow. And then we use the red violet. So Jody, one of my friends, she has made a Coloring Book Awards 2025, and she has made it herself, and I will link to the video down in the description box. And I will also link, if you just want to go and vote and you don't want to watch the video about the entire award, then I will link to the voting form also down in my description box, so you can just use it and go and vote. And I will really encourage you to go and vote. This Coloring Book Awards has a lot of options, so you can select up to 3 books in each category. Well, in most of the categories, except for the best coloring book of the year. I think you can only vote one time there. And if you don't know any of the books, or you don't want to vote in a specific coloring book category, some of them I couldn't vote because I didn't know any of the books, then there is a choice, an option called no preference, and you can just, you know, put your mark there. You can also write if there are some books you wanted to be nominated in a category. So I will just read the categories up for you. There is a fairy tale coloring book nomination. Amongst them is The Fairy Tale Worlds by Maria Tolle Segen. I mentioned this because that is one of the books I know, but it's also like a book from Selina Fenech called Fairy Tale Princesses and Romance. And of course also Garden of Dreams by Yoshimi Sekiguchi, and Dark Fairy Tales by Kirby Rosans, and a lot of others. And if you are wondering about Emilie Lidehall Øberg's wonderful book, Fairy Tales and Folklore, it came out the year before, so it is not in any of these categories. So you cannot vote for that, although we all love that book. There is also a fantasy coloring book nomination. Amongst the books here are some of the mythographic books. Joseph Katzenbank's mythographic Dragonspell, mythographic Wolf Moon by Gloria Shuklova, and mythographic Enchanted Relics by Veronica Kolinska. But also Wondrous Folk by Christine Karen and R.J. Hampson's Steampunk Revival, and many other coloring book artists. Romantasy book nominees, also category Whimsy and Cute book nominees. Cozy Lifestyle book nominees. I didn't know any of these, so I, for example, couldn't vote for these because I don't know, and I don't do a lot of these Cozy Lifestyle books. So here I just voted no preference. Also a Spooky and Dark book nominees, Spooky and Cute book nominees, Fuzzy and Cute regular book nominees, Fuzzy and Cute premium book nominees, Festive and Cute book nominees, and you can see a lot of cute book nominees because there is a huge market for these wildlife and nature book nominees. And here I would actually like to do a little advertising. I voted for Blossomia by Annie Reyes because I think it is the most amazing book in this category. There are also Hidden Earth by Rita Berman in this category, and Vibrant Wilds by Sarah Renee Clark, and Joanna Basford's Wonderful Wildflowers. But of all of these books, I just have to say that I do think that Blossomia by Annie Reyes is the book that really embraces all of this wildlife and nature, because as far as I remember, in Sarah Renee Clark's Vibrant Wilds, which I also have, there are also pages which is not really wildlife and nature, all of them. So, anyway, as I said, you can vote up to 3 books, so you can just vote for the books you want. Also, a winter holiday book nominees, amongst them Winter Wonder by R.J. Hampson, and The Nutcracker by Deborah Muller, and Joyous Miniatures by Camelia Angelkova, or Merry Christmas by Hanna Karlzon. I mean, come on, all of these books are just great. Interactive book nominees, Coloring Book of 2025. And this is the last category where you have to try to select only one book. And here we have some absolutely wonderful choices like Cozy Japan by Jade Summer, Vibrant Wilds by Sarah Renee Clark, Steampunk Revival by R.J. Hampson, Wonderful Wildflowers by Johanna Basford. I don't think that would win because a lot of people don't like it, but some of the mythographic books are also here, and wonderful or fairy tale worlds of Maria Trolle, Wondrous Folk, Merry Christmas, Dark Fairy Tales. I mean, all of these absolutely stunning and wonderful books are here in the Coloring Book of 2025. And then you can also vote for the most anticipated Coloring Book of 2026, which also includes a new book by Kirby Rosan's Dream Menagerie, aka Zoomorphia, Magical Library by Maria Trolle, one of the books I am looking forward to. Of course, also Hanna Karlzon's Tales from the Castle Ruins, which will be out in less than a month. Christmas Colors by Maria Trolle, and Wild Things, Johanna Basford. It's the new book that comes out in the early November. Inklings, her book that comes out in March, and so on. Also, Lulu Mayo is coming out with a new book, A Million Dragons, and of course, Fantasy World by Emilie Lidehall Øberg. One book that is not on this list is, as you may have seen in one of my posts, Erie is coming out with the 5th book in her World series. I'm just saying. So that book is actually not on the list. I have thought about if I should add it, but I only found out a couple of days ago, and I know a lot of people, they have voted. The vote ends at the end of February, and then the result will get to us in the beginning of March. So you will have to watch out on Jodie Moments. I think she does it both on Instagram and on her YouTube channel. So I, for one, cannot wait to see which coloring book gets wins the Coloring Book of the Year of 2025. I think that a lot of people will vote for Merry Christmas because I know that it is extremely popular. But I mean, Wondrous Folk by Christine Karen, also very popular. And that mythographic dragon spell, I have heard a lot of people talk about it and seen a lot of videos where people color in it. So maybe it will be Joseph Kettenbang who runs away with that prize. So that was a little ad from me. Go and vote. Let's color her shoes. And Well, perhaps we should stick to the colors that we have already used. So I think we should give her blue shoes, Indanthrene blue, yet again 247, and the dark indigo 157. So let's think that perhaps a little bit of light comes down here on her shoes, but the other one is probably just in shadow. So let's use the indigo blue, just take it up a little bit so you can see much better. Down with the shining or glowing mushrooms. So you can see that we can just glimpse a little bit of that Indanthrene blue color. And then the rest is dark, because it is really dark down here. No light coming down. And just to make sure, I will just enhance some of these shadows. And if you want to, you can also add a little bit of that black to the back of her shoes or boots. Shoes, boots, boot shoes, I don't know. So that was it, the moon and the night sky. So I used Cold Gray 4, 233, and Cold Gray 2, 231 for the moon. And I will just take it a little bit down. But I will not have a lot of pressure. I will just take that Cold Gray 4 and add a little bit more of a color in the darker areas. And press a little bit harder here where we have these sort of craters. And a little bit more over here. And also over here. Then I will take that Cold Gray 2. And just add a little bit of that color, both on top over here and on the moon itself. And a few areas I will leave untouched. And a little bit more pressure in areas where I want that light gray color to stand out. But I'm not done with the moon, because I want to cover it with my acrylic ink pearl white, because that really makes a shiny moon. But before I can do that, I will just have to color the night sky, and then I will have to do the nets and the stars. So I will just turn this book around, because it will make it more easy for me. And to prevent this video from being too long, I will just speed up the coloring of the sky process up with some music and color it. And then you can just again, watch with music. And as I said, I will use a new color, and it is the Delft Blue 141. All done with that sky, and as you can see, when you have added so much coloring pencil to your page and also used watercolors, the page just curls a bit up. Well, there's nothing really you can do anything about it right now. So now it is time for those stars, and the stars down here, I have thought a lot about it because originally I would have chosen gold. Then I think about this yellow gold color, but the stars in the night sky, I'm not quite sure if I want them to be silver or this yellow color. So I think that I will do the moon first with the pearl white acrylic ink and see what type of color I want. I mean, you can use this yellow gold. We do have the neon yellow down here at the bottom with the glowing mushrooms. I will just take it up so you can see it better. But it could also be silver for the stars, because if they are catching the stars falling down from the sky, and they are, then the stars down here and the stars on the sky should be the same color. And as I have only used that neon glowing color down here, I'm not quite sure I want to use a yellow. Let me just show you the color of, just have to get it to work, of the yellow versus the gold. versus, if you hear any weird sounds, it's my dog. It's Tiger. He is at it again. Oh, that was not the silver. And the silver, if I can activate it, I have used it quite a bit. I'm not sure that I got the color out of the yellow one. Ah, here it was. So you can see the gold is too much of an orange color for the rest of the color palette, so it's no good using it. The yellow, yeah, well, I don't know. I think that perhaps it will also be too much. I think that silver is actually the color that will fit this drawing the most, silver stars. So I am just risking it all, and I will use the silver already. And I haven't forgotten that we will also have to enhance this net again using the black Posca, but I will wait until I have colored the stars, and then I will give it a go with my black Posca pen. And the good thing about these super golden markers, which come in a lot of different colors, is that you can also color the outlines of the stars and thus remove the black line. Yeah, I really think that it was the right color I chose for this. And then you will have to let it dry for a while before you can do anything. So I don't want to smudge this, so I will let it dry and color the stars over here. And then give this moon this acrylic ink white pearl. And at the end, when that's dry, it usually dries quite quickly. And then I can do the night sky with the rest of the stars. So I will let this dry, and then I will actually just show you the finished result. Now the page is completely finished, and as you can see, I will just hold it down so you can see it completely, and I hope that you can see how much that moon really just shines when you get that acrylic ink pearl white on top. Of course, you can don't do it if you don't have that acrylic ink, and you can just have the moon. You can also use a white Posca pen to enhance the edges of the moon if you want to. I chose to enhance the stars which are on the moon with the silver golden, super golden marker. And I think that it works great that I use silver for the stars. I really think that, you know, the other options, if we look at the other options, the yellow and the gold, it would have been too much with the gold, too dark, and the yellow, well, too yellow. And it would have stolen some of the attention that these glowing mushrooms should have in the drawing. You can also see I just used the black Posca for the nets to catch the stars with. So all in all, I am really satisfied with how this page turned out. And I hope that you are satisfied too, because you are all the people who voted for this page. Thank you so much for watching this color and chat and sticking with me through these 2 parts of coloring this wonderful page in Tales from the Forest Kingdom by Hanna Karlzon, a book I have neglected for far too long. I mean, look at all of these wonderful pages. This was also up in my vote. I will have to do that later. Also, this double page spread. I love double page spreads. So, if you like this video, please give it a like, a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. And if you just want to help and support my channel, give it a thumbs up anyway. You can also help me by hyping some of my videos so my channel can be pushed out to more viewers. Thank you so much for being a subscriber to my channel and for supporting me throughout the years. I really appreciate it, and I love when we have votes, that you participate in these votes and help to decide what content you want to see on the channel, and that you also get a chance to get a lot of influence on the pages that I color on the channel. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. Upcoming videos, well, you have already seen the art haul, but more upcoming videos. Of course, a new episode of Tips and Tricks for Beginner Colorists. Please remember that you are more than welcome to suggest content in these episodes, because you are perhaps these beginner colorists who sees these episodes, and perhaps I haven't made a video about a topic that you really want to see a video about. So please write it down in the comments. Also, a review at the end of the month of a coloring pencil brand, and of course I also have a couple of surprise videos. Perhaps you can even guess the content of those. But until I see you in the next one, have a wonderful day. Take care of yourself. Happy coloring. Bye.